Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. All right, PK, we were talking before the break. Our conversation rolled around to Will Hardy in the huddle at a Jazz game, furious with the lack of effort and lack of intensity he was seeing as his team fell behind 10-1 on the way to getting blown out. And you said you did read one contrary opinion. Most people will mind, good for Will. Call that out. There's been too much of that. It's 3 times in 8 days that's happened to the Jazz. You've seen too many efforts where the game started and the Jazz didn't.
Yeah.
However, tell us about this contrarian point of view. What might be missed? What else should we be considering?
Yes. I saw in all the stuff that we do, checking stuff out, that somebody had said, an NBA person said that he is a disciple of Popovich, and Popovich was that way, but Popovich coached in an era in which that was far more acceptable. Can you do this today and still have the players pay attention and have it work? Or in today's era, today's players, is that going to turn them off? And obviously it boiled over, and you're a human being. We all understand that. And it happened. But does he need to be careful because he could lose the players? There's a lot. You can go 50 different ways on that.
Well, I think he does need to be careful, and I think he is careful. I've seen plenty of games and been in plenty of post games or watched his post game on TV if I wasn't at the arena where I thought he could really go to town. And the back of my mind has always been that you don't get to do that very often.
Yeah, but you're not there at practice when that's
right.
the opportunity to do it.
Nope.
Or to have him in player
How hard do they go
XYZ
then?
in your office.
Yep.
And sitting across from you.
You do have to worry about that and balance that for all the same reasons in every phase of the day, not just the media availability. You're right. But how egregious is it? And given how bad that game was and how bad the game before that was and how bad the Houston game was a week earlier, the Sunday one, not the Monday one, I was fine with it. Is he going to lose some guys?
But you're using that as proof that he was right in doing it when I can easily say, well, that's because he's on them and he's so negative that they've tuned him out. That's why you've seen it last game and the game before and the game last week, is because they're tired of him cracking on him. Now, I'm not saying that's what I believe. I'm saying that's a possibility, and that's what the statement was about.
I can't dismiss it as a possibility because I don't know what he's like all those other times.
Right.
I do think they're going to have to move on from some of these guys.
Well, they're going to have to move on most of them. Everybody moves on.
Which one of them or how many of them have checked out? I mean, that's the kind of thing you have to know if you're inside the club.
But that is every team every year.
Yep.
That's not anything peculiar to the Jazz.
I do think that
rosters change over significantly in 3 and 4 and 5 years.
I do think that generationally, like the coaches now have to have way less conflict than they did. I totally agree with that. I don't know what you would call it, that presumption of this story. I think 20 years, a generation, it's night and day. It is so different. So
is it really?
I do.
Why?
Yeah. Kids don't seem to react to that, and they seem to. And I think in sports, maybe it's the whole AAU, I can change teams culture. You're not in it for the long run. The coach used to rule with an iron hand, and you couldn't go anywhere else. And you wanted to play, and you either put up with it or you stopped playing. And I actually did play for a coach who was pretty loud, and a lot of guys stopped playing. I mean, I don't think I ever went through a season without players quitting the team.
Okay, so then how's that changed? You just told me you did it in your day, and then now they're doing it today.
It was way more. And I sit behind the bench at high school games. I've done that this month twice. And I mean, I was struck by the conversation, how positive and upbeat it was. Now, you can argue they were winning. So there's that. But I do think off stories I've heard and the people I've talked to who coached, you have to handle it differently. And I think it's also the parents. I don't think it's just the players.
Well, wait, but we're not to F the parents, man. Yeah. This is professional
No,
sports.
at a professional level, you don't have to worry about that. At the high school level, you do.
Well, sure, but we're talking about Will Hardy.
But they get used to that growing up. Yeah, but it goes back to why, and it's what they're used to, and now they can pick their colleges and what they used to, and it just seems to impact the culture.
I have a problem with that theory because in 20 years we're going to say, oh my gosh, you can't do anything to these players. 20 years ago, you could do what Will Hardy did all the time. And 50 years after that, they'll say that. It never ends.
Chris Hill's going to be in here in a little while, and we will run that by him and see if he saw that change over his career and if he sees it now.
I'm sure it has, but you can still do it. Will Hardy did it.
Yep.
So you can still do it. And if they don't listen, I think it depends on what the management did and does. And when I say did, that's because Larry Miller
always backed Jerry Sloan.
Yeah.
Backed him again and again and again.
Right.
The number of dissatisfied players.
Shut up.
Right. Yeah, I know. They also had to shut up because Stockton and Malone, again, the strongest players, the leaders, set the tone. Yeah.
He's not changing.
Yeah.
This works. And so I don't know how it's going to be here. This is essentially, we're still in the embryonic stages of ownership coach. This is their guy. Now, obviously, if you're going to list what ails the Jazz, Will Hardy is going to be way down on the list. We all agree with that. Whatever problems they've got and a lack of talent is at the highest portion of the list.
Yeah.
It's not about Will Hardy. So to say he's bad, he's this, he's that, he's trying to survive here until they can get a possibility of winning.
It's a tight walk here.
And now we're extending way beyond anything that this franchise has ever done.
You do risk turning the players off with too much negativity. You also risk they never get better if there isn't accountability and you can't be clear with the frustration when they're delivering a frustrating performance. I mean, we went back. I couldn't wait for the show to end yesterday, honestly. I went back. I want to see, okay, what happened right before that timeout? Why would he be so hot?
That fast break.
It was a fast break. It was 2-on-1, and Keontae stayed wide. And when the guy went down the middle, he didn't try to move, and he just kind of swings his arm, just kind of a drive-by wave at a guy.
Yeah,
and it's 10-1.
Sure, but I watched that thing 10 times myself, and everybody in today's game sprints to the corner. So he's in no man's land. Do I go ball or do I let somebody run to the corner and then have a wide open three and then I get yelled at for that?
Initially, I completely get why he was wider for the exact point you say, 100%. But there's also a point of body language where it's like the first thing you have to do is stop the ball. Like they're not going to miss the layup or dunk. They might miss the three. And you do have to hedge and you're doing a little bit of both, but you got to commit to taking away the layup or dunk at some point. And it's not the first time they've had that. You got to stop the ball.
And it seemed like he was indecisive.
Yeah.
But he didn't know, where do I go? I'm literally in no man's land here. And I think it wasn't a singular play that set Will Hardy. I'm bleeping sick and tired of this every night.
Yes.
So it was clearly an accumulation.
Right. Even in the game they won in Brooklyn, they played a bad first quarter.
And I don't think that it's not an accumulation of things he's seen this season.
No, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think that's true.
Everybody in their heart wants to win. Winning is the intoxication that brings us back for more, and they're not doing it. And now he's on his fourth year of getting his brains beat out. Actually, to have him be able to stand upright at any point in the day might be a major accomplishment for him, for what he has been charged to endure. I mean, this is unprecedented. Especially if he would have waited a few months, he could have got the Celtics job and they win a freaking title.
But you don't know that everything would have happened the same way. Although it is apparent that might have happened.
Well, he certainly would have won more games.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so we know that. And he would have been in line, and Missoula would have been, he was second. Missoula got bumped up to first because Will had already taken off. So in that respect, I admire that Will Hardy shows up to work every day with a passion to make this team better when it's so difficult, the most difficult circumstances that since they've moved or since they got good in 40-plus years that this franchise. Quinn Snyder didn't have to do this.
No, the only thing, he had to do a rebuild, but
it was it was like almost like a night and day compared to the on and on and on that Will Hardy has to do.
Yep.
The light of the end of the tunnel came much quicker.
Well, Hayward was already on the roster. There were a lot of differences. Hayward was on the roster. Gobert blossomed.
And away they went.
Yeah, there was other stuff going on.
And they had pretty good times.
Yep.
And we saw Quinn lose it, if you want to consider that losing it. Wake up, screaming at the guys. This is coaching. And sometimes coaching is extremely hard. And Will Hardy stepped up to the plate and coached those guys hard. If you're on the bench and you can't take it, turn in your uni. I mean, that's dramatic. But that's the way I see it. He was coaching. Now, that's not a steady diet.
You can't do it every day.
But he did it, and he was coaching them hard, just like Will or Quinn Snyder was screaming at the guys that was caught on tape, wake up, wake up. Yeah. That's coaching. That's what it's required. He's not their friend.
They had 4 first quarters like that. That was the 4th first quarter in the last 5 games, and it was the 4th one in 8 days. So it's not like that was unprompted. And to your point, it wasn't just about 8 days. That's stuff he's been talking about for years now.
Yeah.
All right, DJ PK and Yak says we have breaking news. Yak, what is breaking?
How about $500 million for the University of Utah Athletic Department?
What?
I walk 500 million miles.
So the University of Utah is on the cusp of striking the industry's first partnership with an equity firm in a marriage that features a 9-figure capital infusion and the creation and shared ownership of a for-profit entity to operate athletics outside of the university, a la what Kentucky did not that long ago, creating an LLC. But this is signing with a private equity group. The first time this has happened with an individual university, if it goes through, apparently it's supposed to go to a vote today.
Will the athletic department still exist as we know it, and then they create another business to help the athletic department?
This is going to be all on the outside. Apparently this is going to fuse. Mark Harlan will be the president of what they're calling Utah Brands and Entertainment LLC, and it'll have people from this Otro equity group along with Utah athletic officials sitting on a board of directors to run this for-profit entity. But the capital infusion is more than $500 million into the athletic department for the University of Utah.
Well, somebody was going to do it, a conference or a team, and it turns out it's the Utes.
Well, that's just because BYU did what they did.
And you got to do something. Mm-hmm. You can't stand still.
The finalization of the project expected soon, pending authorization on Tuesday from the University of Utah Board of Trustees. Which will
but this story you're getting, is this an official release from the U?
No, it is a Ross Dellinger story at
Yahoo
Sports.
Sources say.
Okay.
Sources say. And they're going to get an LLC because they got tired of OPP down at BYU.
How many initials you plan on hitting us with in the next 2 minutes?
I'm just planning on hitting you.
Okay. Violence. Stay with us. All right. Dr. Chris Hill, former Utah athletic director. What a perfect time to have him in studio. Love it when a plan works out, even if we had no idea. That's next. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
The fact that Notre Dame is even ranked above BYU now is ludicrous. The other 2 lost teams, I guess you could make an argument. The other teams ahead of the Cougs are Oklahoma and Alabama.
What everyone has to understand is the college football playoff is functioning exactly how it's supposed to. It was designed specifically to eliminate the Big 12 getting 25% of the shares of the college football playoff when they only had 4 teams and TCU makes it.
Yep.
They didn't want that. 25% going to a Big 12 school? No, so what we're going to do is we're going to expand it to 12 and say, wow, isn't that great? There's more opportunities. No, you get 1/12 of the pie now, as opposed to 25%. That's the design. This is functioning exactly how it's supposed to.
It is.
And now, are there victims? Yeah. The Big 12, the ACC, G5 schools? Yeah, all victims.
Catch Jake and Ben weekdays from 10 to noon on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We are joined now by former Utah Athletic Director Dr. Chris Hill, bringing you in on a super interesting day in college sports.
Just found out about it. Understood it maybe before, but just heard about it.
I bumped into you. You said you had a book that you're working on. It won't come out until 2026, apparently. We can talk about that. And then, since that happened, all the college football playoff blew up. And I'm not so interested in relitigating what happened as I am. There are going to be tweaks going forward. How would you tweak it going forward and make it better? And now we got the breaking news, and I guess we can just start there.
Sure.
That And there's still a lot of details to come. Ross Dellinger has a story on Yahoo Sports. The University of Utah on the cusp of striking the industry's first partnership with an equity firm in a marriage that features a 9-figure capital infusion. It's expected to generate as much or more than $500 million in capital. An executive team from Otro Capital, combined with athletics department personnel, will lead the creation and operation of the new company. The university retains majority ownership and decision-making authority of Utah brands and entertainment. So it sounds like this is going to be separate from the athletic department, but associated with it. We'll see. They're offering a prominent group of donors the ability to purchase a stake in Utah brands and entertainment. So I would assume Eccles, Garf, some of the prominent names that we see on buildings.
James.
Yeah.
Ha!
Not Hill. Well, interesting, huh?
Yeah. The move not completely foreign to college sports. Over the last several months, a host of schools, Kentucky, Michigan State, Clemson, have announced the creation of a private revenue-generating entity outside of the athletic department as the college sport evolves into a more professionalized ecosystem. None of those schools have partnered with an equity firm, so that's a little different. So this doesn't, on the one hand, you didn't know, and on the other hand, you're not completely surprised.
No, I'm not. I mean, I did hear some of that from a couple of the people I know around close to the program, which I don't talk too much. So, I didn't know it was that close, but nothing surprised me anymore.
Isn't this almost to the point of necessary for survival if you want to thrive?
That's not a bad idea. I mean, money's money, and you need the money, so it's just a matter of it's not good money or not. There's times that it could cause problems for you. But
and that's the thing is what type of problems do you foresee with so many hands wanting a piece of it now?
Well, the good side, it's money, and the Utes need money, like everybody else right now. But equity companies, I think people put in money to make money.
That's
if this is not a profit-making organization, then it's a charity. But I don't know how people could put money into that and be a tax-deductible donation or whatever. But for me, it's I wouldn't want people that are in an equity firm to trim down my program or talk about why do you have these
how much
other
influence
sports.
Do they have?
Yeah. If you're part, you got to have some. Now, I was really, really fortunate that people may not understand, but the major donors didn't really want to tell me what to do. They just said, do well. And figure it out.
Right.
If you don't, you lose your job, but by the president. But I never felt like in the big decisions I was having other people tell me what to do.
And that matters.
Well, it matters because you're the one left standing if the coach doesn't do well or something happens the wrong way or whatever. So, and that's part of the job, and that's part of the juice of the job is being able to make things happen.
And that's what you see as a potential pitfall.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I don't want to make up pitfalls before it even happens because I don't know all the details of it. If the money comes with no strings attached, that's kind of an interesting thing why people would do that. But if it's a business, it's different because just like the athletic department, everybody says it's a business. We're a business on their generating side, but you're a charity on the other. You got people on your team, then you play 55 guys a day and you got 50 that aren't playing. You got a softball team that's losing money. If it's a business, it's a business, and maybe you take it outside of all the other sports, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't want to be anywhere other than just thinking like you guys are right off the top.
Right.
There's positives and negatives. The huge negative is they come in and cut expenses and they drop sports. That is like at the top of probably everybody's list of fears.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
That's
I'm
the
sure
negative,
you're
right?
Yeah.
Now, the positive is looking at things that are out there and doing things differently. And maybe they'll work and maybe they won't. PK's famous for saying try things. Maybe they work, maybe they don't.
Sure, I agree with that.
And there are things in sports, as the popularity of sports just continues to explode, what opportunities are out there? Now, this is only loosely associated with it, and don't take it too over there, but that the Olympic swim trials took their trials to Indianapolis and put them in the Colts Stadium, and they built a temporary pool,
right, yeah.
and they drew 30,000 people, and I have no idea how much money they paid or who was comped.
Sure.
It's like, think outside the box.
Sure.
What can you do?
Yeah.
I would have never said, hey, I think some Olympic swim trials should be moved to an NFL dome.
Yeah.
30,000 people showed up. You have my attention.
Yeah.
I don't know what's out there. I never thought, I've never been to the Maui Classic. PK's covered it 4 times and has all these stories. I never thought it would suddenly be trumped by a tournament in Las Vegas, but somebody had a new idea,
right? Tried
something different with 6 teams and then with 18, and now they're going to 32, and paying the players NIL is working.
Well, yeah,
I assume there'll be more of that.
Yeah,
what's next? I don't know.
Yeah, Kansas bought their way out of the Maui Classic to play in this thing, and it could go from 16 teams at a Christmas tournament to 32 before Christmas. And paying the players, and the people are making money. People put money into that tournament. It's a great example of thinking outside the box and working that way.
Right.
At the end of the day, we are who we are, and Utah looked at that and said, we got other people putting in money for NIL and all this stuff. We got to find some. And sports is an emergency business. You can't wait around 5 years to figure it out.
That's a fact.
Yeah. You can't.
You don't have 5 years.
Well, that's the thing I tried to convince the university when I was there. Yeah, I actually grew up there. When I was there, that we're an emergency business, and which is really counter to what universities are. You have a football coach leave, you got 2 weeks to hire the most expensive guy at the university, and a president, you can form a task force, take a sabbatical, come back a year later. Or when it's 4th and 1, Kyle can't have a committee. Let's vote on it. And we got the
play clock's going,
and you got your quarterback that needs an MRI. I'm sorry, it's Wednesday. He's going to have it Thursday, and the university thinks you're obnoxious. Push it for that. Fortunately, our doctors understood it, but still, it's an emergency business. It's happening right now. I laugh. There's no 5-year plan now.
No.
Win as much as you can this year, do it the right way, and find some more money and do it again.
Yeah. And if you don't find the money, Utah had a really good team. 10-2 is a really good season, and the 2 losses are the teams that have more money and appear to be accelerating, not slowing down. So if you don't do something, you're not even going to be 3rd. Because somebody else in the league is going to do something, and then you're going to be 4th or 5th.
Well, that's the whole bag of crap theory I used to have.
Yeah.
They have a bag of crap, and we need a bag of crap. And I used to say, why don't we have 2 bags? Because then we could really beat them. But you just follow everybody. And so my question now is, and I used to say this to my friend that was at Ohio State, I said, you are from the beginning of time to the end of time always going to have more money than the Utes. We're just going to be smarter and better and develop our teams. And that's how we compete. So the top 10 teams in the country with all the new stuff going on if it works, they're going to do an equity stuff.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, they're going to say, whoa.
Yeah.
I don't want to be naive, but there'll be teams that slip in like Texas Tech and Indiana, but you're not going to see, no matter what the rules are, Ohio State 25th in the country.
No,
Just not.
That's the thing about it is that, and Utah, from the football perspective, has done just a phenomenal job the last 20-plus years of being able to do that.
Yeah.
But it's like they can't get to that level simply now more than ever because whatever you give, I'll outbid you. There was a situation that the University of Utah, this was literally told to me back when BYU was an independent. There was a coach that BYU wanted who was on Utah's staff. And basically Kyle just told him, whatever they're going to give you, I'm going to give you more.
Yeah.
Now it's changed.
No, that wasn't out of Kyle's pocket.
I know. Well, okay.
But I agreed with
Out of
him.
his
And
budget.
I
think I remember that.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to compete. The challenge is Utah's got to stay at least where they are. That's what I think.
And now
people
you
are
can do that
afraid
with
of.
players.
Yeah.
I'll just pay you more. Texas Tech did that with this David Bailey kid who was at Stanford. And he got his degree, and they're obviously in a down cycle. He takes off. It's 4 years. We got 1 year left.
Yeah.
UCLA, Texas.
Yeah.
Texas Tech says, just take the phone call.
Yeah.
He not only takes the phone call, he goes down there, and he's a superstar. He's a difference maker. And look at their team this year.
Oh, sure, that can happen. You know, the Utes are stealing from people too.
Yes.
You know, so they're allowed to.
Everybody is.
Everybody
Right. Well,
is.
it's that
That's the
pecking
way
order.
it is. It's a pecking order, and you know the way the portal is now. I like the fact kids can do what they want to do, but at the same time, that's not the way the world is in almost any job or any pro thing. So, do you think Eric Weddle and Alex Smith and Andre Miller would have been on this? As soon as they saw him play, Kentucky's going to buy Andre, and Texas is going to buy Alex. But then we'll buy somebody else.
The jump you made as a group of 5 team or whatever it was called then. But when you were in the Mountain West and Final Four, Fiesta Bowl, Sugar Bowl, all that success. How do these teams do that now? I'm looking at these G5 teams, like you and Boise State and TCU, all the schools that kind of made the jump at that time and went to those games and won those games and could say, hey, we belong here. Now you start to build that, but you lose the kid every year. You lose the coach. I mean, both the schools going in this year, James Madison and Tulane, have already lost their coach before the playoffs.
Yeah. It's a
they
tough
can't keep
situation.
the
I'm
kids
worried
and
about
develop
college
them.
sports and college football. I can't tell you how many people say, boy, your timing was great. And I say, I'm not that smart. There's no question. And so, you know, the pecking order used to be the same anyway. And how did we win the Sugar Bowl? Well, Alabama always had more money, but somehow we won. Well, now the money is exponentially more, you know, and now you can buy players. So it's a whole different deal. And I used to think we had coaches that could develop players. I mean, the people we had took Alex Smith and made them better, took our offensive lines and made them better. Now you don't have time to coach them up. Kyle can coach them up, you know, and now – you know, one of the strengths of Utah, I think, was getting players, diamonds in the rough.
He's talked about that.
Develop them. That's who we were. And, you know, we kind of knew that, you know, those 5-star guys are, they may have been bought then. I'd be surprised if they were. Yeah. And so we knew what our niche was. But then we can develop it, and you have coaches that, like Kyle, could pick out talent. You know, he knows what he's doing, or he moves one from offense to defense or whatever. And we just coached him up, we being Kyle and Rick and all those guys we had. And it's just a little harder. Now, that was Utah's niche. Now, if we can get on a level playing field with the same money, then maybe we can get it done. Now, I don't know what all the complications are. Like we just said, we found out this morning it was official, although we've been hearing about it all along. You know, so, you know, it'll be interesting, that's for sure.
Well, I think what then Utah could do is that they can go and get Washington State running back, which is a lower program. They can go to New Mexico quarterback, which is a lower program, and they do very well. They had an outstanding season. 10-2 is just, I think it's great. It grades out to me as an A, and you lost one game by 3 points to your rival on their home field. I mean, that's...
Yeah. I mean, you look at the season. Yeah, we could have been. Well, we really, literally could have been undefeated or one loss or be here this weekend.
The problem is asking them, and them being plural. Utah, the one we're using as an example, but there's plenty of examples to now go against a Tech, which has Cody Campbell. I pull into the Dallas Cowboys parking lot on Saturday. First thing I see in the back of a truck, a big poster. You know Cody Campbell, the Texas Tech booster. Big sign I see, Cody Campbell for president.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And, you know, universities has a certain cachet. I mean, they're a very prestigious part of any state. You know, I'm the big shot at Texas Tech. I'm the guy. I'm the guy that I can go see the quarterback and say, "How you doing, Louis? Hello, how you doing?"
We're down there,
people
Chris,
have
at
money.
At Big 12 Media Days. They had it at the Star over there north of Dallas. And he's there. He's giving interviews.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a booster.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a chairman of the Board of Regents, but essentially he's a booster. And there he was. I'm on the field Saturday. He's holding the trophy. He's literally the most important person in that program.
Yeah. And the only one who isn't going somewhere.
Yeah.
Coaches go all the time. ADs go all the time. Players certainly go all the time. But Cody's not going anywhere.
He can't fire himself either.
Yeah.
No, well, if there are bad decisions, you know, he's not going to get fired. They'll just get rid of somebody else, and then he'll still be holding the trophy once they buy the right guys back. You know, I sound like a whiner now because I don't want to do that because it's new stuff.
It's
I've just
reality.
always feared people outside of athletics forcing you to make decisions that maybe you didn't think was right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's the fear I always had. I thought once I lose that opportunity to hire, you know, with advice, it's not like I was out alone in some smoke-filled room making my own decisions by any means. You had input, but at the end of the day, you kind of knew it was your deal if it didn't work.
Right. Yeah, but you had decisions made for you, and you hated it.
Yeah. If I had
the 16-team whack, I remember standing in front of the Huntsman Center, and you explaining patiently to me because you were afraid I couldn't grasp why this was a horrific idea.
Yeah.
There was less money, and there were more teams, and it was only going to end poorly, and it took 3 years, and everything played out.
Yeah, Ernie. God bless Bernie Matchin, our president. He got it. First of all, I didn't find out about that. I found out about like when you did.
Right.
And we were all thinking we're going to add 2 teams. I think it was TCU and UNLV. But then we're sitting down going, oh my gosh! I called. Do you guys know this? No, I didn't know this. And I'm thinking, okay, who made this decision? But then Bernie Matchin, I came to him 2-3 years later. Said, what should we do? I said, we got to form our own league. I was just kind of like throwing it out there, and he goes. It was Bernie. Okay, let's do it. He calls President Bateman, I think it was at the time. Mm-hmm. The 2 of them, they get together. They invite 2 others. They meet in Denver. Wyoming shows up. They don't know why. And a new league is formed.
There you go.
And, you know,
obviously
but
the right move.
You're sitting there going, wow, you know, how did this happen? And you didn't like it. Right. Especially if you didn't have your day in court. If you have your day in court,
you get to make a case.
You get to make a case. And that's what gives you the enthusiasm and the vision to want to do what you do.
So has your book got a lot of these stories in it?
Yeah.
All right. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up. We got to get you on the college football playoffs and where this might go in the future as well. Stay with us. Dr. Chris Hill in studio with DJ and PK here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And now, a look at traffic from the KSL Traffic Center.
Got big delays northbound I-15 from Springville all the way into Orem due to a crash near Center Street in Provo, blocking the right lanes there. Also seeing slowing near the point of the mountain due to another crash near the Timpanogos Highway, Utah County mess this morning. This update is brought to you by GoPave Utah. Whether you park it, stripe it, or pave it, GoPave Utah is your blacktop covered at GoPaveUtah.com. That's GoPaveUtah.com. Call them today or visit GoPaveUtah.com. With your KSL traffic update, I'm Jake Hatcher, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what are you doing?
Well, now, it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
Cheap bangs.
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's a Utah Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. Wins a pair of tickets to watch the Jazz take on the Lakers December 18th at the Delta Center. So you just gave us some stories there, kind of as a little bit of background, decisions that are being made, big decisions about this new venture with the private equity group and all that. Tell us a little. We got a short segment here, but tell us a little bit about the book you're working on. And we'll want to have you back in once we can read all the stories. And
that'd be good. Maybe in January or February or whatever. Okay. But no, it's just something started with the university wanted to do oral history, and then we were doing that along the way, and then COVID happened as everything changes. So I was just thinking of putting some stories together with Liz and what happened when we
Liz Abel.
Liz Abel. I'm sorry, I know her so well, and what happened with the Pac-12? How'd you get in? What was Rick doing? What are some of the things that happened? And so then I was with a lunch with AD from Alabama, Iowa State, and North Carolina. I'm telling stories about I'm a Jersey kid that grew up and didn't know anything about the state of Utah. And there I am, an Irish Catholic Democrat as the AD at 37. How the hell did that happen? And we're telling, and they're laughing like, and I'm telling them, and they said nobody has that. Nobody has a Urban Meyer or a Rick Majerus in 3 different leagues and all that stuff. I thought, they said, you ought to write a book. I said, well, I got some stories. They said, go ahead. So that's what I did.
You could have an encyclopedia
and so,
with Majerus
stories.
Oh,
yeah. I had to limit him to 2 chapters.
We've all got a few.
We all got a few. And, I'm not beating anybody up except Larry Scott and one vice president at the university who's not there any longer, who during the audit I thought he was a legislator. And but that's it. Just some kind of what happened from my chair. I mean, we're calling it, we think, 31 years in the front row.
Oh, nice.
And so, and that's what the other guy said. You've been through 3 leagues and you've been there 31 years, and we still don't understand it until they came out here and I had them go golfing and skiing on the same day, and they said, we get it. We understand why you didn't want the Iowa State job. Okay, we understand why you didn't go here. So, it's fun and some family things. But anyway, we're not on Stephen Colbert and trying to sell my book today, but
not yet. So, just out of curiosity, do you go into whatever happened at Washington? Because it did feel like you almost went to Washington, and then you didn't.
So I had one chapter that says, why'd you stay? Mm-hmm. And I had 4 really, really good offers. And then, not bragging, this book is not about me being a big shot or knowing more than anybody else. But went through the whole process. We had I had my purple tie, and there was I ran into Bill Moose, who was going to be interviewed there from Washington, which essentially started the end of his job. And I talked to some people, and my number went down between Mark Emmert. This is funny. Mark Emmert was the president. He was the guy that went to the top of the NCAA. Uh-huh. And one day he said I made X, and the next day the person comes in as 25 less, which is I don't give a damn. I turned down plenty of money before, and so I'm thinking, do I really trust this situation?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, so that's what happened. I called a guy named Gene Corrigan, who was the head of the ACC and blah, 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 one of the old mentors. He said, don't mess with happiness. You like your football coach? You like your basketball coach? Okay, your president treats you all right? Why mess around for X amount of more money and prestige? You got plenty going right now.
Plus, at that time, you'd already established yourself.
Yeah, it was kind of, people thought I'd leave because I'm, like we talked, from Jersey, and all of a sudden I'm going to leave whatever job. People would be like, why aren't you going, Chris? Mainly my peers. Mm-hmm. And then you look at it, and then obviously the dream thing came through with being in a big league, which is what we always thought. But, I'm naive or a dreamer or whatever. But, things worked out. But, there were things where you said, it's funny, after the Duke situation, we went to the Final Four. Right after Washington, Urban came in, we went to the Fiesta Bowl, and then one with Oregon that people didn't know about. We went to the Sugar Bowl after that. So I kind of got rewarded for staying.
Yeah, clearly.
It was a kick.
And that's the thing about, too, with you're talking about these players and how Alex Smith and Eric Weddle and all. And Eric, I would assume, would get his name up there on the football stadium.
Sure.
And forever, you've got a home in a sense.
Exactly. That's what I felt.
You can't buy that.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking, because people in sports, coaches, they don't have a home. Their kids don't have a home.
Right.
My kids, wherever they live the rest of their life, their home is going to be Salt Lake City.
Right.
Wherever they live. And also, the unique thing about my situation is I was here before I got hired. Mm-hmm. So I had friends that they could have cared less the youth sports in terms of anything, but they cared for me.
Right.
But if you go to Washington, you're the AD. Everybody, you're the AD. You're the AD. You can't make a real good friend.
Right.
And that sounds corny, but you if you have that, other people, and I was close. Washington was close I ever got, but at the same time, when I look back and I think, I got good buddies. I have, I played golf with guys before I got the job. And then when I got the job, I was mad at some coach. I'd tee it off and say, that damn Kenahan. And they'd just laugh and nobody else would know. So anyway, that's kind of some of the stuff that would happen.
Which is actually true.
Yeah.
I saw him on the golf course once.
But they're my buddies. So somebody said, who do you want to play? One of the TV state newspapers used to say, what's your favorite foursome? They say Michael Jordan this, which I said, no. The pup, the coach, and the bear, my three buddies.
Yeah.
Jim Curtis, John O'Brien, and Steve Lowe. Boom.
And
that's who I want to play with.
And you're here. Kyle's told me this, and we're the same age and live in the same area. One of his greatest accomplishments is all of his children went to the same elementary school, went to the same junior high, went to the same high school.
Wow.
And they lived a normal life.
Wow, for head coaches.
Yeah.
And they probably, and Utah's a good place that way. Like I heard many times the pro players aren't inundated when they go to the restaurant. They're not, this and that. So Utah's a special place that way. Yeah. And also, we're not too slick. We're not we're not Oregon. We're not somebody that needs to wear Gucci shoes.
Understood.
That's kind of the way it is. But anyway, I mean, it's not about loyalty. It's about you like where you're at. You had a chance to win. They pay you enough, pay you twice a month, and you do the best they can. Now, understand that loyalty. I got paid. It wasn't. Everything's this big loyalty. It kind of is, but believe me, if I was screwing up too much, I'd be gone in New York.
It's more loyalty to yourself.
Yeah, right. It's how you feel. And, so, I mean, there's just an interesting life, all the different things, and you're involved in so many different things.
You were talking about the do you have relationships with the people around you and all that and the people you work with? We got to go to break here real quick so we can come back and talk football. But maybe you want to say a word or two about Beth Lanier. 36 years as a coach, and she retires, ends with an NCAA tournament berth, quick exit compared to some of the other runs that she helped author where they went deeper. But nonetheless, that's a heck of a run.
That was so funny. We hired her when she was a young kid. We were 1-29.
I remember it.
Okay, and we had no money.
I remember the story. So
she and I would tease. We grew up together. I think she was like 27 and I was 37 or 38 when we hired her. So we kind of grew up with years together. And, our volleyball program, 1-29, hadn't ever been to the NCAA tournament or even think. It was just kind of like a club team that just could be there. Yeah. And what happened, we looked 4 or 5 years later, we're in the NCAA tournament. So God bless her. She did a great job. She stayed around. Yeah. And a lot of our good coaches stayed around. So not ours, the universities, because it's not mine ananymore. It's the universities. You got that? The universities coaches.
She'll leave as a legend.
Oh, yeah. She should. I mean,
36 years and having the influence on all those women, literally hundreds.
Yeah, and that's one of the juice, too. And I'll let you, we got to break, but that's part of the juice, too, is that they come back from Alumni Day and they know her. Yeah. It's not like there's a new coach there. I mean, it's like when I would come back after I retired, and I knew a lot of the volleyball players. It's like, hey, they knew me. Yeah. And I knew them, and that was part of the excitement of it. So, there's some real positives. She can really watch them grow up and have wonderful families and wonderful degrees and wonderful stuff.
Big time.
But now I'm watching ESPN and Fox, and it's great that they're counter-programming football with volleyball, but nothing comes without a price. Transfer portal, NIL. I have a niece who is a GA at a D1, and I was asking her about NIL, and she's like, I can't believe the numbers the coaches are talking about. I mean, she's a GA, so she's not on the front line of that, but she hears all the coaches talking.
In all the sports, right? Or just...
Well, she knows volleyball. Because that's what she does. Yeah, but she's like there's... And she played D3, so she was nowhere near any of that stuff. But she... she was saying it's real money.
It's I know. Well, I don't know if it is
dollars for.
I don't know where it
players.
is, but I didn't mean to interrupt you because I know I got to go to break. But my granddaughter plays soccer at Loyola Marymount, and I'm wondering, hey, if any comes your way, how about Poppy? And then I got one that's being recruited quite heavily. She's a junior. She's a judge, and I'm thinking, maybe a little bit. They already got their inheritance from me. I told them. So how about a little bit back? Put me in a good nursing home. That's what I told them.
There you go.
We'll visit you.
Chris Hill in studio for one more segment. We're going to talk college football playoffs, how he would tweak things going forward. And Yahoo has a heck of a story out about the committee. Man, Notre Dame's going to hate this story. But they might already believe it. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.